Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you exactly how I decorated my beautiful Christmas tree, and I'm going to give you guys tons of tips on how you guys can get the perfect Christmas tree. So how about we just get started? Okay, so just a little side note, I literally put up my tree just like 2 days after I got back from the hospital after having my little girl. I was that excited to finally put up the Christmas tree. So yeah, so that's just a little side note. So obviously you're going to want to get your Christmas tree out. So my Christmas tree is from Big Lots. I got it about like 3 years ago, and I think it's like 6 feet tall. It's a pretty good sized tree, and it's just your regular green tree. It's not flocked at all, but yeah, so I just went ahead, got the tree out, and I got my little helper here too. He's gonna help me put up the Christmas tree. My cousins too. So obviously the tree comes in the 3 components, and it's got the little base. So I'm gonna start off with tip number 1, which please, if you take anything from this, it is this tip. You must separate and open up every single branch of your tree. So this is where sometimes the trees can look a little sad. It's because people don't completely open up the stems, and the fact that they're like they're bendable or whatever like that, use that to your advantage. So I heard a trick before where you would spread out 2 of the branches, and then you would lift one up, and then you spread 2 more branches, and then you put that one down. So it's just to really fluff out all of the branches. That's going to make sure that your tree is as full as possible and kind of avoid any of those sparse spaces that, even though we probably will have some, but I do have a little tip for you guys on how you guys can fill in those little gaps. But we want to try and avoid that as much as possible. So like I said, just take your time, put on a Christmas movie, do whatever, and fluff out that tree. So now we're going to go on to lights. So unfortunately, a lot of my lights were dead. I was so sad. So I had less lights to work with. But here's another tip. Try and put your lights on as you go, like piece by piece, instead of putting all your tree together and then putting on the lights. I found that when you put your lights on as you go, you have a little bit more control of the lights. So by just having this piece, I can kind of gauge where I'm putting the lights, and I can really like go up a branch, back into the stem, and then back out again, and kind of work with it a little bit more than when I put the tree up all the way. Maybe the other pieces you could probably do it when they're up, but the bottom piece, the bigger piece, definitely easier if you put the lights on first. So obviously you're going to want to make sure that the plug to the wall is at the bottom. I have made this mistake before. I put on all of the lights, and then at the very end I realized, oh my goodness, I put the lights on backwards. So then I couldn't plug it into my wall, so I had to redo it all. So don't do that. Don't be me. So make sure you can plug it into the wall, and then just work your way up and around. So now you're going to go ahead and you're just going to do the same exact thing with part number 2. So I went in, I put the second part onto the tree, and now again, of course, fluffing out that tree as much as possible by making sure I pretty much touch every single last little branch there is. So now once you've fluffed up your entire section, again, go ahead and connect another set of lights to the previous ones and wrap it all around the tree. So now, because of the size of my tree, I have a third part. This one I actually found was easier to fluff up like in my hand before I put it up on the tree. That's just because I'm short. But it was a little bit easier to do that way. I had a little bit more control. So I fluffed it up before I ended up putting it up at the top. And then another funny little story. Once I was trying to put the lights on the top part, I realized it wasn't working because I was too short. So after thinking about it a little bit, I decided to take it out and do it by hand. So I kind of just wrapped it up in the lights first, and then I put it up at the top just because it was just easier for my short self to do. So now here all I'm doing is like I plugged in the tree, and that way you can really see where your lights are at, because obviously when they're off it's a little bit harder to see. But you're just going to kind of work around the tree and find any of those essentially dark spots. And anywhere that you see that the tree is a little bit dark, then you can go and like kind of drag some lights down, try and spread those lights out as much as possible. Like I said, I had like 2 things of lights that totally died on me, so I was down a couple sets of lights. So it wasn't exactly how I wanted the lights to be, but you know, just work with what you got. Sometimes we got to do the best we can. So just go ahead and make sure that the lights are exactly where you want them to be. So that was the end of day number 1. I did this over like 3 days, I think. So the second day was ornaments and decorations and all the fun stuff. So I put on some Christmas music and I got started on the tree again. So at this point, like I said, we just got the lights on. That's all we've got. So let me give you guys a little tip. So 1, obviously spread out all your decorations so you can see what you got to work with. 2nd, garland. Garland is your friend. So if you have a tree that has a lot of empty spaces, fill it with garland. Get the Dollar Tree garland and stuff it inside, especially closer to the center, and it'll really give you the look of like a fuller tree, and it'll look a little bit better. But I didn't really have too many of that issue this year. I don't know why, but I didn't have to fill it with much garland. So that's just a little tip. If you find bald spots, garland. So I store all of my decorations in these bins. It just helps them lay out a little bit better, and they don't get like too folded or anything. So we're gonna start with a ribbon. Look at this ribbon. I love this guy. This is from Hobby Lobby. It's red and gold. It's like, I call it like my royal ribbon. And then I have another bigger set of just regular gold ribbon. Make sure they're wired. I don't know how to do this without wire. I feel like you wouldn't be able to get the perfect little loops. So I'm gonna just kind of walk you guys through how I do the ribbon on my tree. So I kind of use the smaller roll of ribbon to essentially be like the accent ribbon. So I only do like 3 strands of the pretty ribbon, we'll call it. So I find the center, and then I'll put 1 row of ribbon there and then 2 other ones on each side. So I'll have 3 strands of the ribbon. Now, a little thing, I don't actually cut my ribbon. I actually just use 1 continuous strand. So you couldn't see where I was doing the back side of the tree, so I will do 1 row of the ribbon and then just drag it across through the back of the tree and then go up. So that way I don't have to cut it. It's because, I don't know, maybe I want to change my mind, and if I cut it, it's too late. So then once I get to the top, I'll do the same thing, just drag it across and then just make my way down this time. So now let's talk about the actual like ribbon placement. So I learned the hard way. Your ribbon needs to be like really well attached to the tree. If not, your toddler will come, pull the strand out, and ruin your entire ribbon. So what I do is I make a loop, kind of like a little fluff thing, and then I tie it off with 2 branches from the tree itself. So this way it's secure and it's not going to slip out. So just make a loop, make it like a little fluffy loop, don't pull it too tight, and then just secure it by putting kind of tying it off with 2 strands of or 2 branches, we'll say. So this keeps the little loops in place and they're not going to fall out. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the gold one. So what I do here is I actually do bigger loops with the gold ribbon. I also have a lot more of this one, so it does grant me that that chance to like kind of make the bigger loops. But I like doing that because it kind of adds a little more definition, depth, like, I don't know, a little extra thing to the tree by having different size loops. And this can also be achieved by doing like different size spheres, different size ornaments and stuff. So the more interest you can add to the tree, I think it looks extra cool. So but yeah, so I'm just doing the same exact thing where I make a loop, and then I kind of tie it off a little bit with 2 branches from the tree, and I just work my way in the spaces between the red strands of ribbon. So in this case I did 3 strands again of the gold, and like I said, I just bring it across. I don't cut it either. I just go right across and just work my way around the tree. Now ribbon is awesome because it can really help fill in some of those empty spaces as well. It's just like a pretty filler. I know people do ribbon different ways, but this is how I do it. So now I got my little helper, Miss Emma, and she's gonna help me put picks. Now picks, guys, oh my goodness, I cannot stress the importance of picks. I did not discover them until last year, but they made such a huge difference. So little tip, Hobby Lobby, they sell tons of beautiful picks, but they're so fluffy you can actually divide them up into 2 or even 3 pieces, and now you just got yourself 3 pieces for 1. So that's a little more bang for your buck. So what I do is, like, once I separate the pieces, I just go ahead and I place them on the tree kind of in a zigzag form. I just want to go like in a zigzag down the tree, and it just helps space them out a little bit better. And I do that with red and gold picks for my tree. And the thing is just to kind of make it a little bit random, but not too random, so still kind of have some sense of pattern. And I found that the Z works really well. So then I use poinsettias that I think I got from the Dollar Tree to just kind of fill in some more spaces. And now I'm using these little snowflake ornaments. I think these are from Walmart, but Dollar Tree, not Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby has them too, and they're really, really nice, and there's like a lot in the pack. That, again, I use that to fill any empty spaces. This is kind of the last piece I do before we add the actual like ball ornaments. So I just use those little snowflakes, and I just put them all around and really fill in any of those empty gaps, trying to go into the tree and also a little bit on the outside of the tree, not just the outside. Now for the final day, we did some cookies, some milk, some Christmas movies, and I had Dallin and Tyler and Emma help me put on some of the regular Christmas ball ornaments. So now a couple tips with ornaments. So 1, you don't just have to put 1 at a time. You can actually put 2 together and kind of string them together and put them onto the tree. I found this actually looks really, really pretty, and it takes up some space for, again, those like kind of empty spaces. Tip number 2 is to make sure you put your ornaments, just like the snowflakes, some on the outside of the tree, like the end of the branches, and then also inside the tree, because then when you're kind of looking at the tree from just kind of taking a nice look at the tree, it just looks like there's so much more depth to the tree, with the ornaments like deep inside and then kind of on the outside. It adds a lot of like especially if there's glitter, just like shininess and prettiness like all over the place. I don't know, it just like, it looks so nice, it looks fuller, it looks really pretty that way. So Tyler and I just each take a color, and we just kind of go at it, and we just go all around and try and make it as random as we can so that there's not too many of one color on one side. But it's lots of fun. Definitely I would recommend doing this with your family.
Christmas tree.
This is what it's looking like. So here's a little bit closer look. You can see we have some ornaments. You can't even see them because they're inside of the tree pretty much, but that's what really adds that depth. But it's so much fun to do with the family, and especially if the kids go at it. Dallin, since he puts it in such random places, it actually works out very well. So definitely get your kids involved, or get some like friends involved. Anyone who can help you decorate the tree. It's lots of fun to do, especially if you got some cookies and some Christmas movies. So another thing with the Christmas tree, just kind of make sure that you can see a little bit of the decor on all edges, not just the front. Remember that you might be able to see it from different angles. So this is what it looks like up close. Isn't it gorgeous? It looks so pretty. I am so proud of my tree, honestly. It's just been a couple years of collecting materials. I did not buy this all at one time, and I think that's a great tip, is to just kind of let the years pass and let your collection grow. Definitely use a lot of the pieces to fill in any empty spaces and add a lot of like just interest to your tree. So all that I have left to do is the skirt, which another tip, make sure you fluff up the skirt by stuffing like newspaper or plastic bags under to give some volume to your skirt. And then I'll also add the star, but I'll add the star after Thanksgiving. So this is what my tree looks like. I love how it looks. I think it's so pretty, and I love doing this with the family. And I hope you guys like the tree as well. If you guys have any extra tips, I would love to hear them. And if any of my tips helped you, I would love to hear that as well. Let me know what color you're going to be using for your Christmas tree this year. I always love hearing people's like really interesting colors. Like one year I'm going to do something different besides just my red and gold. But thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.
Just see those sleigh bells jingling, ring, tingle, tingling. I'm on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.